Hello, and welcome to The Foundation, a Parks People podcast, presented by the National Association of Park Foundations. And now, your host and Executive Director of the National Association of Park Foundations, Kevin Korenthal.
Hello, and welcome back to The Foundation, a Parks People podcast. I don't think I need to tell you my name again. You've heard it enough. I'm the Executive Director of the National Association of Park Foundations. And it's always my esteemed pleasure to be able to talk to some of the most important people working in parks and recreation, and particularly with regards to foundation, the philanthropic side. So I'm really pleased to have my guest on the podcast today. His name is Dr. Nathan Schaumleffel. We affectionately call him Dr. Nathan. He is the Associate Professor of Political Science at Indiana State University. And just as importantly, if not more importantly, he is the Chief Consultant for the National Association of Park Foundations. And I've had the pleasure of working with him over the last 2+ years on many of the projects that NAPF is doing, both behind the scenes and that which you and the members see. Welcome, Dr. Nathan.
Hi there, Kevin. Thanks for having me today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So let's start here. What exactly about being an associate professor in Indiana State University and specifically the political science department, how is that important for my members?
Well, that's a good question, and it's a little bit misleading. To the best of my knowledge, our park and recreation management program is the only park and recreation management program actually housed in a Department of Political Science in North America. And so I know that to be true until somebody proves me otherwise, but that's a fairly new thing here at Indiana State University. It's actually my 19th year here on faculty. I spent 6 years in a Department of Recreation and Sport Management, and then that merged with PE, and we became a Department of Kinesiology, Recreation, and Sport, where I spent another 10 years, brought me to year 16, and then I've been here in political science for 3 years, and it's just a great fit. I run the Public Lands and Recreation Administration program and also the Nonprofit Leadership program. And where those two things collide is public lands, philanthropy, and advocacy. And that's really what NAPF's about is nonprofits. We're a membership-based organization that supports the nonprofits that support public lands and parks and recreation departments and districts at the mostly local, but also the county, state, and federal levels. So yeah, it's a good fit. To be in political science. I sit next to public administration and civic leadership and public policy, and those are all programs that teach competencies that are just critical to people in our field.
Well, it's interesting. I'm a late learner in life, pursuing education here in my late 40s and early 50s, not to exploit exactly how old I am. And my connection to Indiana State University obviously has increased over the time that you and I have known each other. You developed an undergraduate degree program, leadership and professional development. I am currently enrolled in that, pursuing my undergrad degree. Take a few minutes here, maybe talk a little bit about that particular degree program, how that came about, and maybe even some of its relevancy. Again, we're talking to the NAPF members here. How might this be relevant to the members?
Absolutely, and thanks for that opportunity, Kevin. I really appreciate a chance to talk about what we're doing here at Indiana State University in Terre Haute, Indiana. Most importantly, things are changing. Higher ed is changing faster now than it's ever changed, and enrollment trends are changing. So a couple of big things that our membership needs to know is that enrollment in traditional, like NRPA accredited park and recreation management bachelor's degree programs, they've been on the decline for enrollment since the mid to late 90s. So lots of parks and rec programs have struggled. Somewhere there used to be about 300 programs in the country, to the best of my knowledge. We've lost about half of those without nitpicking over numbers. So programs are dropping like flies, right? So we also have an enrollment crisis in higher ed right now for a variety of reasons that I won't get into in the long answer. But the short of it is enrollment in higher ed and four-year degree seeking students is going to get worse come 2025 to 2029. It's what we call the enrollment cliff. It's been bad for 6 years. It's going to get really bad. So higher ed's trying to repackage and to figure out how to be relevant in today's technology economy. And we're coming up with ways to package important educational content to reach markets of students that we wouldn't normally have reached. There's, quite frankly, there's just a lot of people that tried college once or twice and just never could finish, whether kids came along or a job or, God knows what, life happens, right? When you're 18 to 22 or 18 to 25, and all of a sudden you wake up at 32, 34, 48, whatever it is, and you've got, maybe 60, 70, 80, 90 credit hours between 4 or 5 different accredited institutions of higher education. But the quintessential problem is you don't have enough of anything from anywhere to turn that into a degree or progress towards a degree. So I didn't start the program. There's a number of people on our campus. Dr. Lindsay Eberman's the program director. I'm on a committee that helps, I would say, provide some oversight and support to Lindsay's work as program director. But we've created a new degree program. It's called a Bachelor's of Science in Leadership and Professional Development, and it is targeting working adults with some college and no degree, and you can actually transfer in 70 to 90 credit hours. So most bachelor's degrees are 120 credit hours. To give you an idea, we're going to let you bring in anything from anywhere, and if you switch majors 9 times between 4 schools, that's going to all count here. And parks and recreation and nonprofit leadership are some of the very first knowingly interdisciplinary fields where you need to be a jack of all trades. You need a little marketing, a little accounting, a little social work, a landscape architecture. So encouraging students to come to this program that want to work or are working in parks and recreation or in park philanthropy, whatever it might be related to parks and recreation. We got a great option. Now, the other neat thing about this program, and you're starting to see these trends, and we're not the first university to do this, but we're creating these things called micro credentials. Other people call them stackable certificates. I call them first downs. Okay, so let's say that you bring in, a football field is 120 yards long, right? If you count the end zones. So if you transfer in 70 hours, you're going to be on, what is that, the 50-yard line then, if you're counting the end zones. So
you're not
think
talking
about
to a football fan here.
Yeah, I'm not a big football guy either, but I know there's a lot of football fans in our membership. So if you transfer in 70 hours on a 120-yard football field, you're starting at the 50-yard line at Indiana State University towards your degree. You're halfway there. And then what you can do is we've created certificates, which are basically half of minors. Okay, so you think of a minor as about 18 credit hours. These certificates are about 9 to 12 hours. So they're basically mini minors. The difference is if you come here online, and this entire program I'm talking about is totally online, the Leadership and Professional Development Program, they're 8-week courses. And they're asynchronous online. So you get through the content based on your schedule. There's not live Zoom meetings Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 4 to 4:50. It's a totally asynchronous programming. 8-week courses is the model. The difference, let's say you go to college, you get 70 credit hours and you finish 2 minors. Well, if you don't finish your bachelor's degree and graduate, you actually don't get your minors.
Right.
Okay. The difference with this is you transfer in 70 hours from 4 or 5 different schools, and then you do our 9 credit hour certificate in Public Lands and Recreation Administration. You check out with that certificate.
Right.
You
and then
get
you
it.
stack certificates.
Yes, and you stack them like
total.
first downs, and we've got, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 30, and we're adding more and more certificates, and you can take them like a buffet depending on what role you're going to be in Parks and Recreation. So we have a Public Lands and Recreation Administration certificate. We have a nonprofit leadership certificate, which includes a fundraising course, a volunteer engagement course, and an advanced nonprofit administration course. And then we also have a civic leadership certificate, and all 3 of those are housed in the political science department. So let's just pretend that you transfer your 70 credits in or 90 credits into ISU. You declare that you want to be an online, non-traditional working adult with some college, no degree student. You declare that you're going to be a major in leadership and professional development, and that you're going to earn these 3 certificates: Public Lands, Rec Administration, Nonprofit Leadership, and Civic Leadership. If you do all 3 of those are actually bundled as a concentration. So now you're getting a BS in leadership and professional development with a concentration in public lands, philanthropy, and advocacy, and you've bundled those 3 certificates into concentration.
So
that's a rec degree. It's just a new way to do parks and recreation and to provide the buffet of skills to students that need it. And it's starting to work really well.
For me, first of all, as much as you mentioned at the top of your comment here, the degree doesn't have the same attractiveness it has had in previous generations. That doesn't mean that employers don't see the value in bringing candidates to roles. And I would say boards of directors that are hiring chief executive officers want to see that someone could hunker down and do a program, a full program, all the way through start to finish. So there's a lot of value in that for me to have that, as I go out into the world and I represent other organizations in the future. More importantly than that, though, is a global view on leadership that is difficult for someone, especially in this remote world where we travel less, to be able to get perspectives that fall outside of my own, and the additional studies of other cultures, other ways of living, that again are not things that are of my daily basis. So I want to, I'm just really excited about going through that program. Obviously, it's time intensive and it adds to the responsibilities that I have to accomplish every day. But I just really think it's really valuable, and I hope that if our members out there are interested in learning more about it, the next topic that I want to discuss with you may be the way that folks can get kind of a taste of what going back to school would be all about, right? I know
That'd
there's
be
many of
right.
these folks out there.
Can I throw in one other piece to that program that might interest our members?
Sure.
So a part of this leadership and professional development bachelor's degree program is something we call credit for prior learning. And so if you have documentable work experience, that might count for an internship requirement. If you are a certified park and recreation professional, we might be able to give you credit, or a certified park and recreation executive. We can give you credit, course credit that you didn't transfer in. We can give you credit for that. If you're a certified fundraising executive, a certified volunteer administrator, a certified interpreter through the National Association of Interpretation.
If you're certified for anything.
Even with your CAE, there's a way for us to give you credit,
especially that CAE.
And
the content.
I work with the program director to decide what park and recreation and nonprofit leadership people get credit for. And knowing the field like I do, we can convert a lot of credit or a lot of prior learning, training, education, certifications that you might have picked up through, let's say you went to the Park Foundation School when we had it, or let's say that we have other things, we can get credit. So I just really want to throw that out. The other thing that might be interested your members, Kevin, is we do have an online MPA for those already with a bachelor's degree with a nonprofit management concentration.
Yeah.
And I'll send you that article that we talked about before you start recording. I mentioned to you that I recently published an article about what we're doing at ISU in the Indiana Park and Recreation Association profile magazine. So if you don't mind, I'll just give you that link and you can put it in the description of the podcast. I'll put that in description. And then my contact information's there. But yeah, anything we can do to promote what we're doing at ISU to, create a talent pipeline for the field, for the nonprofits that support public lands, parks and recreation, and for public administrators working in government that are liaising right with these nonprofits. So anyways.
Yeah, absolutely, Dr. Nathan. And as I tried to segue smartly.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You're dealing with a professor. We don't segue well when we got something to say. So go ahead and jump in there. Thanks for putting.
Dr. Nathan's succinct level is low, but obviously his detail level is very high. And
segue away.
Well, there you go. And so a way that I think we're bringing some of this higher level education to NAPF is through the initial program that we're working on together, which is the online course, Annual Fundraising for Parks Foundations, Friends Groups, and Conservancies. Dr. Nathan, tell us more about this program that may be important for potential students to know. We don't need to talk price. Well, that's all available on the website.
It's on the website.
Tell us specifically what will learners get out of this program?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the chance to talk about the course. So I'm building it right now. It's something I'm doing this spring semester, but it's based on the online fundamentals of fundraising course that I've been teaching and build at Indiana State University for, God, I think since 2007 or 8, something like that. It's been a long time since we've been teaching fundraising contextualized to parks, recreation, and social services and foundations and that sort of thing. So it's certainly not going to be brand new content that I've never taught before, right? I'm morphing 10 to 15 years of experience teaching this online course and building it in the learning management system that NAPF has. It's going to be a course over 10 weeks that'll run from mid-May to mid-July. It's going to be about half what we call asynchronous, which means work on your own time whenever you want in the middle of the night, right? In your lazy boy in your pajamas. And then about half of it is going to be live on Zoom, where you'll log in and interact with me and other students for live sessions too. So it's going to be what we call a hybrid pedagogy, very fancy professor word, which just basically means we're going to be doing a little bit of both. There's going to be opportunities for virtual office hours that are live twice a week. Right. So you're going to have the online module during the week that's asynchronous. You're going to have a live 2-hour lecture and then 2 1-hour virtual office hours where you may be the only student or maybe with others. And we'll, answer questions, give feedback on assignments, that sort of thing, the projects that are tied to your specific foundation. And we're going to also have one-on-one time where we can dig in really deep based on your own professional development, the students kind of where they're at, where they're going with their career, and what's going on with their particular agency that they're representing. Now, the really cool thing about this is going to be an intensive class. It's not like a conference, like an NRPA conference where you go to 20 sessions over 3 or 4 days and you get 30 to 75 minutes on 15 different topics where you're just kind of scratching the surface and then out to the concourse and on
what are the learners going to get out of this?
So a conference like an NRPA live in-person conference it's very wide and it's very shallow in terms of the content that you get into for your CEUs, right? And a class like this is very narrow and it's very deep. So it's annual fundraising for park foundations, friends groups, and conservancies. It's not grant writing. It's not special event fundraising. It's not capital campaigns. It's very specifically annual campaigns, which is should be the basis of all of your fundraising to get unrestricted operating funds to keep your lights on, pay your salaries, and do business as an organization. It should be your fundraising strategies, things like direct mail, direct email. Believe it or not, sending direct mail to people's mailboxes at their homes still converts to great return on investment for fundraising. Special events are a black hole. When you figure out the staff time and indirect costs, they usually really lose money and burn out your staff and volunteers.
And I'm hearing that more and more that folks are not able to rely on those special events.
Right, but Parks and Rec people are programmers and they're event planners. So as soon as they get into Park Foundation, let's do an event. Oh my God, do we need another 5K to run for this or walk for that or jump rope for this or, skip for that? I mean, I think there's ways to build relationships and understand. This course is going to really get into fundraising is about relationship building. And I'm going to introduce the Park and Recreation and Park Foundation and Conservancy world and Friends Group world to the profession and the research and the skill set, best practices of professional fundraisers. I'm going to introduce them to the professional associations tied to fundraising. I'm going to introduce you to the ethics of fundraising, and I'm going to introduce you into the research of fundraising and philanthropy, but it's all going to be contextualized within parks, recreation, park foundations, friends groups, conservancies, but it's going to be very narrow on annual fundraising or what an annual campaign. That would be something like a Giving Tuesday is a part of an annual campaign, direct mail, direct email, even phone solicitation, earned income strategies, those sorts of things. Like an earned income strategy, the quintessential earned income strategy is Girl Scout cookies, right? It's aligned with the mission. It's part of their program design, but it also generates a lot of income from them. We're going to talk about case statements and how to build a comprehensive case statement that is built on your foundation's strategic plan as well as the master plan of your public agency,
values, all that stuff.
Right? The MOU, so it's going to be cascaded. You have your public agency's master plan, you have your strategic plan, you have your MOU between those two things, and then you're going to cascade it over to your fundraising case statement and then over your annual fund plan. I talk about students and assignments, but basically this is a deep 10 weeks for you to focus on building the foundation of a fundraising program for your agency. So no, we're not going to busy you with work that's not tied directly back to your job. This, as far as I'm concerned, you should be doing this class on company time, right? You should be getting paid.
This is going to, one of the deliverables is the plan itself, right?
The comprehensive fundraising case statement and the annual fund plan and your first direct mail letter based on the most recent research on philanthropic psychology. There's a whole new field of philanthropic psychology. There's one PhD in the world, Dr. Jen Shang, and I actually communicate with her about how to apply her research on philanthropic psychology to writing direct mail letters so that you raise more money with your direct mail campaign. So those are the
Agreed.
three, like if you're going to say, if you're going to go to your boss and say, I want to pay for this class through NAPF, what's your foundation or your Parks and Rec department or district going to get back? You're going to come back better educated. You're going to come back well on your way to a career in philanthropy and fundraising, not a Parks and Rec person trying to plan a 5K. And you're going to come back with a comprehensive fundraising case statement, which is the basis for all things philanthropy and fundraising. You're going to come back with an annual fund plan ready to implement, and your first annual fund strategy, your direct mail campaign. You will have a polished, if you do the work, you got to do the work, but I'm here to help you do the work. I'm going to review your work. I'm going to grade it, which means I'm going to be a peer evaluator, and I'm going to give you really detailed feedback that if you really want to walk away with these 3 products done, you're going to be able to go and start using these documents right into your fundraising for, let's say, fall programming, and fall fundraising. So
yeah, and those people that are looking for qualifying hours, we're working on getting that. At the very least, NAPF can provide a certificate of hours, but we're looking for the potential of being able to deliver CEUs as well. So keep an eye on the website at the NAPF under events for information on that. We're quickly running out of time here. Dr. Nathan, I can't believe it, how fast this time goes. Just to kind of wrap up, this is what we're doing today. Obviously, we're preparing for that fundraising course. What do you see as additional educational opportunities that we might present to our members coming up?
In terms of things that NAPF can host?
Yes.
There's a number of things we're talking about. Many of your members may not know that we've recently started an education and research committee, which is pretty exciting. That's fairly new. We've met, I think, 3 times now over the last 7 to 9 months, and we've got some great park and recreation and park philanthropy leaders that have experience in education, research, professional development, HR, and training. So that group's doing good work, and we're kicking around some ideas about a peer mentoring program. We're looking at a variety of things with this first online course. I expect this will not only be not the first, or it'll be the first, but it won't be the last fundraising class. I expect we'll tweak it after we learn how this first one goes. We'll offer another section of it. And the thing we should mention is these classes are only for 15 students. And I think 2/3 of the seats are sold for this first one. So if you're interested,
you're going to want to get on that. Really
get registered, but we will be offering probably a second section during the fall, another 15-person cohort. And then we'll probably do a course on major gift fundraising and a course on planned giving with estate planning and wills, testaments, life insurance, that sort of thing. So I think we'll continue to grow the online piece if that's what our membership wants. I really think we need to get into peer mentoring. I think we're still doing our webinar series that NAPF continues to produce. So we're going to be wrapping around this cohort and this online course with a special LinkedIn group to create a community of kind of a community of interest around what we do. So are there some other things you're thinking of that you want to chat about that's coming down the pipeline?
Look, those of you who are, on our, contact list, look forward to a survey coming out here relatively soon. It's going to talk about a lot of the things that we want to know about, the way you learn, what you want to learn. Dr. Nathan, thank you for being my guest today. I've appreciated our relationship as colleagues and as friends.
Absolutely.
And, I'm really looking forward to, providing through your expertise, the information and the education that our members need to do what they do even better than they're doing it now.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me today, Kevin.
Thank you, everyone else, and we'll catch you on the next edition of the Foundation of Parks People podcast.
Thanks for tuning into The Foundation, a Parks People podcast. If you like what you heard, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@the-NAPF to not miss an episode. To help this podcast grow, please like, comment, and share with your friends. Have a great day.